Welcome to Unacademy, students. This platform provides daily live classes. Then there are live tests and quizzes. There are structured courses and unlimited access on subscription. You can also download Unacademy Learning app, which is available both on Google Play as well as App Store. This is about me, and this is my Telegram link. This is my Unacademy profile link. These are the top educators. So along with me, these are the educators who are having courses on various subjects. You can look into them. Now these are the different plans for subscription. If you go with plus, you have these very benefits. And if you go with iconic, you have these very additional benefits. These are the different plans for different durations. All these plans are available at 10% discount if you use this very code, that is Amit PS. Again, these are different plans, and all they are available at 10% discount if you use this very code, that is Amit PS. These are the different optional subjects available on the platform, and I'm taking PSIR. Again, these are different plans of different durations. You can choose according to your requirement, and these are available at 10% discount if you use Amit PS code. Okay, coming to the lecture part. Now, we covered most basic things about Hobbes, and we also compared his premise with that of Aristotle and Machiavelli. So, in many sense, he is going to build on something which Machiavelli has already created, but he has actually dismantled everything which Aristotle came with. Okay, so whatever theory Aristotle actually proposed, be it virtue or the state, the very raison d'etre of a state, why any people come into under a state, all that is going to be destroyed, has been destroyed by Hobbes. Okay, so that is something that I have discussed in the last video. Now coming to the perspective, the school of thought that he belongs to. Okay, so here you are going to get a completely new school of thought. Uh, uh, you don't find that in either in Plato or Aristotle and Machiavelli. So Hobbes is going to belong to social contract tradition. Okay, social contract tradition. So here we are going to see a new tradition, that is social contract tradition. Okay, we will understand what is social contract. This tradition is marked by a shift from divine rights theory of medieval age. Okay, so understand that in medieval age, what used to be the condition, that a king, generally a monarch, used to have control or used to wield power, okay, over subjects. And what was the legitimacy behind this very power that he used to enjoy? This legitimacy actually was given to him in form of divine rights theory. Okay, divine rights theory. So he, or king or monarch, was considered to be divinely ordained to rule. Okay, and this very divine right was actually corroborated by the institution of church. Okay, so institution of church corroborated this very divine right theory, and this actually was the basis of legitimacy. But now in social contract tradition, this theory is actually destroyed or it is negated. Now, what becomes the legitimacy or the basis of legitimacy? Here, that is emerging out of the contract that people are going to make among themselves while according this very right to someone who is going to rule over them. So, it is upside down. So, for example, here people are going to be subject because the ruler there is divinely ordained to rule over them. Okay, people are not giving him this very right to rule. In social contract tradition, it is understood that people themselves had made a contract, and in that contract, they have given this very authority to any particular ruler. Okay, this is the simplest version of explanation that can be offered here, although the details are going to be very different. Okay, so that is we will see after some time. So just for your common understanding, social contract tradition, in social contract tradition, you find people making contract with each other, and then in that very contract they agree to accord certain body or certain body of individuals, or it can be one individual, where they themselves are going to give this very right. Okay, that which will enable him to rule, or which will enable that very body to rule over them. Okay, so here the very power of rule, be it monarchy or be it oligarchy, it can be any kind of government, that the premise of that very rule rests on this very contract that has been made among people. So it is the people themselves who are according that very right to rule over them, okay, to any particular body or any particular individual. So that is what social contract tradition is. Now, significant section of scholars consider Hobbes the father of modern political science. Okay, Hobbes is also credited with expounding the absolutist theory of sovereignty. Absolutist theory of sovereignty. What is that? We are going to understand here only in this very video only. So Hobbes takes credit for coming out with absolutist theory of sovereignty. Although the initiative was already taken by Jean Boda. Okay, so we are going to compare the theory of sovereignty of Jean Boda with Hobbes. That is also a subject here. And Hobbes also originated the positivist theory of law. So what is positivist theory of law? That again is going to be a topic of discussion here. So it is social contract tradition. That is one school of thought he's coming from. Then modern father of modern political science. Then absolutist theory of sovereignty, and then positivist theory of law. All that is something that we are going to learn here in Hobbes. Okay, Marxist school represented by scholars like Macpherson consider Hobbes' theory to be the ideology of nascent capitalist market economy. It is not actually the Marxist school alone. Macpherson is known for various other things. Okay, but yes, Macpherson is some who has made this kind of claim. There are two aspects in Hobbes' thought which are seemingly contradictory but have logical correlation in his theory. These are absolutism and individualism. So these two simultaneously exist, okay, in different degrees in Hobbesian theory, and this will be our case to investigate whether he is individualist or absolutist, and what it means to be individualist, absolutist. That is also we are going to see. Hobbes, on the basis of his radical individualism, builds his theory of absolutism, and that is why we are going to investigate why, or if at all, he is absolutist or individualist at the end. So this is the conclusion that you will be able to draw. Okay. So what is the methodology that he is going to adopt? So first methodology that he's employing is scientific method. Okay, scientific method, and that will be most evident in case of his thoughts on human nature. So unlike Machiavelli, who expressed his opinions, his thoughts, his perception about human nature without giving any reason or any scientific reason for it, Hobbes again is going to give his perception, his thoughts over human nature. But when Hobbes will come out with his thoughts, then he is going to provide a very deep scientific analysis, scientific cause behind it. Okay, that you will see here. He was influenced by the new development in natural science. That is very natural, because this is actually the age where important scientific developments are taking place. Okay, he was influenced by the works of Kepler, Galileo, Bacon, etc. Yes, so this is actually the time when these very scientists are working and making new developments in the field of science. Hobbes' methodology was deductive. We are going to see that also. It was resolutive compositive method. So this is actually the scientific method that he is actually adopting, and we will understand that also. Now, what is resolutive compositive method? Let us see. So in this very method, actually the thinker, what he does, that in order to analyze any particular phenomena, in order to think or reflect upon any particular uh, case or in particular theory and particular thought or in any particular case, he is going to break that very entity into elemental forms. Okay, now that very entity is break into elemental forms, and then all the elements are going to be studied and understood in isolated sense. Okay, getting it? Now the whole system is going to be comprehended by establishing a causal relationship, that is cause effect relationship. So it essentially means breaking entity into elemental forms and then studying those elements in isolated manner and then coming out with a comprehensive understanding by establishing the cause and effect relationship. Okay, so this is what we mean by resolutive compositive method. Okay, according to this method, to understand many complex phenomena, it has to be broken into most elemental forms and understand those forms in isolated manner and then attempt for correlation among them, among those elements, and bring out with the explanation of and come out with the explanation of phenomena as a whole. Okay, again the same thing, that breaking the entity into most uh, smallest possible elemental forms and then analyzing those elements in isolated manner and then finally comprehending the whole phenomena by establishing the correlation causal relationship, that is cause and effect relationship. Hobbes attempts to assimilate the science of man and civil society to a thoroughly modern and mathematical physical sciences, and that will be most evident in his study of human nature. Okay, you will see that. Hobbes employs psychological egoism. What is that? We are going to understand. But in Machiavelli, you have seen universal egoism, and I have also talked about ethical egoism. Okay, and ethical relativism and political absolutism. All these things are going to be explained here. Now, main ideas. What are the main ideas of Hobbes? So these are the main ideas, that state of nature is a human condition before the formation of civil society. So the scholars of social contract tradition, I just explained you about social contract tradition. Okay, they come out with this very heuristic device of the state of nature. Okay, so it is actually a device which is employed by them to to come out with a kind of hypothesis, or you can say a kind of premise over which they are going to build their theories. So what is the state of nature? It is a human condition before the formation of civil society. So before people came and organized themselves into a civil society, then before that, the condition that prevailed is the state of nature. Now, again, this is more theoretical than historical, because here the attempt is to find out or to form or to come out with the very basis or the most basic reasons why at all people are going to form the state, and what should be the basis or what should be the foundation of sovereign state or any body which is going to govern. Okay, so this becomes possible to philosophize with this very device of state of nature, or this becomes possible to philosophize, to theorize on the formation of a state, okay, on to solve the question, to answer the question of legitimacy, okay, to deny this very right that are divinely ordained and that are claimed to be divinely ordained, okay, for example, divine right theory. So all those things become possible in the world of philosophy by using this very heuristic device of state of nature. This condition is derived from the nature of human, his basic psycho-physical character, behavior, and emotions. So, when a state of nature as a device is going to be used in order to philosophize about various other things that we are going to see here in Hobbes and then we again see in Locke, is to be devised or is to be imagined by taking into account the very nature of man. Okay, so when nature of man is studied, and on the basis of that study, the thinker is going to suggest that okay, this is going to be the state of nature, or this would have been, not in historical sense but theoretical sense, this would have been the situation before humans formed civil society. Okay, his basic psychological, psychophysical character, all that is going to be used to theorize on a state of nature or to actually present a picture of a state of nature. Okay, now in Hobbes' scheme, what happens? According to Hobbes, a state of nature, that is a pre-social condition, is a state of war. Okay, so he presents a very gloomy picture of a state of nature. Okay, a very gloomy picture means a state of nature is a situation which is to be avoided. Okay, no, it is something which no one would be liking. So it is something, a situation, it is a kind of situation where everybody is going to make an attempt to escape, an attempt of escape, or would make an attempt to avoid, okay, or escape from that very situation. So that is a kind of a state of nature that Hobbes is coming out with. Now, again, in the very previous slide, you just saw that state of nature is a condition which is derived from the nature of human, his basic psychophysical character, behavior, and emotions. So when Hobbes is presenting this very picture of a state of nature, which is the state of war, where one would like to escape from, and one would attempt to avoid this kind of nature, is actually the product of his analysis of human nature, and that is something that he is going to do very scientifically. Okay, he is going to establish human nature, the kind of human nature that he actually thinks uh, is is the reality, is going to be based on his scientific study. So he will come out with his perception of human nature, but by building a very scientific theory, a scientific hypothesis behind it. Okay, man is primarily a body governed by the law of motion. Now he's started building it. Okay, the very premise which will become the foundation for his thoughts of the thoughts on human nature or his perception of human nature. So this is actually the starting of this very theory building, or his starting of the scientific analysis of human nature. So what he says here is this, that man is primarily a body governed by the law of motion, okay, which permeates the entire physical world. So what man is made up of? A body which is governed by law of motion, and that law of motion is to be found in entire physical world. Getting it? This is simple. Now there are two kinds of motion. The first is vital motion and the second is voluntary motion. Okay. Now what is vital motion and what is voluntary motion? That is something that you have to understand here. Okay. What is vital motion? Vital motion is automatic motion in living beings, which goes on from birth to death. Okay, vital motion is what? Automatic. Okay, that is why it is vital. Vital means necessary, and those motions which are necessary for life. So, for example, breathing, digestion, blood circulation, these are vital motions. They go on their own. So, So right from birth to death, this kind of motion will always be present. Okay, breathing, digestion, blood circulation, and all. Then the second kind of motion is voluntary motion. And what is voluntary motion? Is first originated in our mind. Understand this voluntary motion, and you will understand Hobbes here. Voluntary motion is first originated in our mind. It is caused by the impact of external stimuli. So voluntary motion is not a vital motion which goes on its own. No, it's originated in our mind. Now, how it gets originated? It is caused by the impact of external stimuli on our senses, leading to internal motion in form of sensation. So there is an external stimuli. It is going to have an impact, okay, over the mind or senses, leading to internal motion in form of sensation. Okay, this so voluntary motion is actually in form of sensation. Now this sensation can be of uh, following kinds. This sensation either aids or retards the vital motion. What is vital motion? Breathing, digestion, blood circulation, and all. Okay, so you understood that vital motion is something which goes on its own, and which is being called vital because it is going to be necessary for the survival. Okay, so far as any living being exists, this will go on. Okay, now then there is voluntary motion. It is caused by the external stimuli, and that is external stimuli leaves an impact, and this actually is manifested in form of sensation. Now this very sensation can be of two kinds. First, either it is going to aid, okay, is going to contribute in that very vital motion. It is going to aid it, or it is going to retard. It is going to retard that voluntary motion. Okay, and now these sensations, which are of two kinds, first, either they aid these vital motions, that is breathing, digestion, and all, or they retard these vital motions, that is breathing, digestion, and all. Now those voluntary motions which are going to aid to these vital motions, we start, okay, developing love for them, okay, or attraction for them. We start liking them because it is adding to our vital motion, which is vital for necessary for our survival, or which is actually responsible for our existence. So for example, breathing, digestion, blood circulation, all that is very necessary for our survival. Those things, those sensations which are going to aid to this very breathing, sense, digestion, blood circulation, okay, definitely we are going to like it. So we will develop the feeling of attraction towards them, feeling of love towards those very sensations. And those sensations which are going to retard these vital motions, which is going to retard our breathing, our digestion, our blood circulation, we are going to develop aversion towards them. I'm sorry. Okay, if sensation aids the vital motion, we get attracted to it. Okay, sensation is what? It is a manifestation of voluntary motion. It is a manifestation of voluntary motion. But now this sensation can be of two kinds. First, either it is going to aid the vital motion, and in that sense, in that case, we are going to get attracted towards it. And if it retards the vital motion, then we are going to replace it, or because we are going to develop aversion towards it. Okay, so we will try to avoid this very sensation, these kind of sensations which are going to retard our vital motion. Thus the whole process results into two kinds of original motions or emotions, that is desire and aversion. So desire is the result of those sensations which are going to aid to vital motion. What is vital motion? Which goes on its own, for example, breathing, digestion, blood circulation. Okay, and aversion is again the result of those sensations which is going to retard our vital motion. Okay, that is blood circulation, digestion, breathing, and all. Getting it? So we start desiring those things which aid to our vital motion, and we start hating, or we start having aversion, or we start developing aversion towards those things, those sensations which retard our vital motion. Very easy to understand. See how is he's coming out with a very scientific analysis or theory which is going to be the basis of his perception of human nature. Okay, I'm just indicating it. You will find within few minutes. According to Hobbes, predominant passion of desire and aversion are the root cause of conflict in the state of nature. So why state of nature is such? Because of psychophysical character, the very behavior, conduct of humans. And when a state of nature is bad, it is bad because of the bad psychophysical character, emotions, and behavior of humans. If you are able to recall the discussion which I just had. And now, if the psychophysical character, emotions, and behavior of human is bad, then Hobbes is coming out with this very reason, okay, with this very analysis of why this human nature is such. And this is actually the reason, this is actually the analysis. According to Hobbes, predominant passion of desire and aversion are the root cause of conflict in the state of nature. Everyone is motivated by natural impulse of self-preservation. Everyone is motivated by the natural impulse of self-preservation and the desire to achieve those goods or objects which could make the existence safe and secure. Okay? So what is saying that everyone is motivated by natural impulse of self-preservation. So there is always an impulse, a natural impulse, okay, of preserving oneself, and the desire to achieve those goods or objects which is going to make his existence safe and secure. Okay, so in that sense, one is going to be desirous of those goods, objects, which is going to make his existence safe and secure, which is going to make, or which is going to aid to vital motion. I hope you understand this very thing. Okay, the things which aid to vital motion are this very feeling of security and safety. Okay, because the sensation arising out of those objects and goods which are going to make one's life secure and safe is going to aid to the vital motion. This is actually the reason here. I hope you understand all that. But now why the conflict here? Why there is a conflict? Now this is being explained. So this very problem, that is a conflict, is compounded by two other factors. What is these two factors? The first, goods and objects of desire are scarce. Okay, so there is always the scarcity of those goods and objects which humans are have desire. Okay, which humans desire. And why those goods and objects are desired? Because they are going to aid to the vital motion. In that sense, they are going to make life more and more secure. People are roughly equal in strength. That again is becoming the second reason that why problem is going to be more challenging. Okay, because people are going to be equal in strength, that's why they are going to be fighting with each other without any conclusive result. Okay, because they are equal in strength. And when people with equal strength are going to struggle with each other, are going to have conflict with each other, then conclusion of that very fight will be elusive. Yes or no? Yes. Physical power offset by another mental superiority. See, understand why people are roughly equal in strength, because one's mental strength might be challenged or might be countered by another's physical strength. So if one is very powerful physically, the other might be very powerful mentally. Okay, so in that sense, people are roughly equal in their strength. The resultant competition and conflict among individuals become a struggle for power. Okay, because one who is going to acquire more power is going to make his life more and more secure, or is going to make those things which are desired accessible to him because of the exercise of power. Okay, so everyone will be striving for power. So all this boils down to this situation where everyone is actually struggling to gain more and more power so that he or she could actually make his life or her life secure by having access to those objects which are desired. Okay, because without power one cannot retain what has been acquired. Okay, it is only through exercise of power one can actually retain what he has acquired. But the nature of power is such, you understand, this is a very good analysis. Please pay full attention. But the nature of power is such that it must be acquired continuously so that it does not dissipate. Okay, this is the very nature of power, that it must be acquired continuously. Okay, so it must be acquired more and more continuously in consistent form, otherwise it will decrease with time. This unending struggle for power is aggravated by a sense of insecurity, fear, quest for glory, and pride. So, why this unending struggle? There is already the unending struggle of power, but is still being aggravated by a sense of insecurity, fear, quest for glory, and pride. All these things are going to make this very struggle for power even more entrenched, more powerful. According to Hobbes, in the state of nature, competition, diffidence, and glory are the three principal cause of conflict. First is competition, the second is diffidence, that is a lack of trust, and glory, actually the quest for glory, which becomes a cause of conflict. Now see that one thing which is very important in Hobbes is is that here it has been mentioned that it is to be noted that the central to the Hobbes psychology is not hedonism or search for but search for power. So it is not hedonism. Hedonism means one who is hedonist is going to accord primacy to pleasure. Okay, so hedonistic pleasures are not the concerns of individual here. It is the search for power. Okay, and why search for power? Because only through power one can actually attain those things which are going to contribute in safety and security. So it is not hedonistic desire. It is the desire to of security and safety. मतलब ये है कि पावर का स्ट्रगल हॉब्स की स्कीम में सुख पाने के लिए नहीं है, वो अपने आप को सुरक्षित करने के लिए। अब मुझे लगता है समझ में आ गया होगा। ओके, the meaning is that in Hobbesian psychology or in his system of thought, the struggle for power, the search for power is not to secure a good life. Okay, is not to get pleasure. It is not to attain happiness. It is to attain security and safety. It is to make a case for survival. Getting it? Again, the same thing when we compared Hobbes with Aristotle. This is clear from Hobbes' statement when he says that all mankind have general inclination for perpetual and restless desire of power after power that ceases or that comes into end only with death. Okay, only in death. So this is Hobbes' statement about power or the struggle for power or the quest for power. Now see, all the factors mentioned above create a state of all the factors mentioned above create a state of nature characterized by war of everyone against everyone. Okay, in this state of nature there is no morality, justice, industry, and civilization. Okay, so this is actually the clear picture of a state of nature that is emerging here. This makes the life of man, according to Hobbes, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and so on. The very famous statement of Hobbes. Okay, so what makes the life of man solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and so on? It is the conditions which prevail in the state of nature. Okay, there is no morality in the state of nature, though no justice, no industry, and no civilization. That is why the life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and so on. Now, critics of social contract tradition believe that the renouncement of natural rights is not necessary under a state. Okay, now this is something which you will find in the criticism. But here also it is evident that when a state is created, then it is not necessary in social contract tradition, according to critics, that natural rights should be renounced. Okay, that is something that we are going to see after some time. Natural rights and rights of nature. Okay, natural rights. Now we are going to understand about the concept of natural rights and those rights which are called rights of nature. Concept of natural right is one of the most important contribution to the political theory. Okay, we will see how that is the case. Hobbes says that the right of nature is the liberty each man has to use his own power for the preservation of his own nature, that is to say, of his own life. So that is the right of nature according to Hobbes. Okay, you can understand it this way that the right of nature is the liberty. It is actually the freedom. Each man has to use his own power for the preservation of his own nature, that is to say, his own life. So this is actually the right of nature, the very freedom that people have in a state of nature. And what is that freedom? That they can do anything to secure themselves. Okay, so for their security, they will be allowed, or they have this very freedom to do whatever they want or what is required of them according to them. Okay, now you can see further that in a state of nature, every man has natural right to everything. So, in the state of nature, although it is not a good picture that Hobbes is coming out with, but he further says that every man has natural right, okay, not legal right, or not any right which has been given to him by any authority. Natural right to everything, even to one's another's life. Why he has this very right, even to take others' life? Because of the state of nature, because of the nature of a state. Okay, because of the nature of a state, or here you can say because of the rights of nature, which is going to make, which is going to give this very freedom to individual to do whatever they want in order to secure their life. So rights of nature is such that in a state of nature, every man has this very natural right to everything, even to one another's life. But the paradox of natural right in the state of nature is that it remains highly precarious on account of those conditions in which it is claimed. Because see, Hobbes is coming out with his theory of natural rights. In that sense, he is going to support the existence of natural rights. But in Hobbesian scheme, these natural rights become meaningless because of the situation that prevails in a state of nature. Okay, now see what he has got to say about the laws of nature. Hobbes suggests a method of escape from pre-political horrible conditions. Okay, this method of Hobbes is based on belief that man, in addition to being slave of passion, is also endowed with reason. Okay, so Hobbes here is coming out with another premise that although men are driven by passion, but they have this very reason also, this capacity of reason also. So this is one quality, but along with that very quality, along with that very fault that they are driven by passion, they have this very quality of reason also. That is what is being said here. This method of Hobbes is based on the belief that man, in addition to being a slave of passion, is also endowed with reason. The faculty of reason helps him to choose rational self-preservation over the blind pursuit of self-interest, which leads to war. Okay, now because humans have this very faculty of reason, okay, this faculty of reason that humans are endowed with, that faculty of reason is going to help him to choose rational self-preservation, rational self-preservation over the blind pursuit of self-interest, which leads to war. So, along with passion, or along with being the slave of passion, individuals also have reason. And this very quality of reason is going to make sure that they are at least ready to come out with any plan for self preservation, okay, other, and not choosing and not going for blind pursuit of self interest, which is going to be all out destruction or mutually assured destruction for all. Laws of nature that Hobbes proposes are not the standard of morality, justice, and common good. No, this is not actually the nature or the type of laws of nature that he's coming out with. Laws of nature are simply the theorems of peace. Okay, these are the theorems of peace. Okay, through which peace is to be sought, or peace is being sought, or peace is to be established. Hobbes described the law of nature as law of nature is a general rule found out by reason by which a person is forbidden to do that which is destructive of his life or takes away the means of preserving the same. Okay, so his description of law of nature is what? That it is a general rule. Okay, it is a general rule. Okay, now how that rule is known? It is only because humans are endowed with reason. And now, because of this very reason, a general rule emerges which also become part of law of nature, and that dictates, or that is going to make sure that people do things in by this very objective in their mind, that the result of that particular action should not be destructive to their life, okay, to themselves. Okay, and there are 19 laws of nature, among which three are most important. First is what? Seek peace and follow it. So, this is something which is coming from reason. Okay, human beings are endowed with reason, and that is why these laws, actually, laws of nature emerge. Laws of nature emerge. And there are 19 in total, and you just need to understand here is this, that these laws of nature that are most important here are emerging because humans have reason, this capacity of reason. And now first is seek peace and follow it. Then second, laws of nature, which is emerging because humans have reason, is renounce natural rights over things. Okay, now Hobbes first proposed natural rights or accepted the existence of natural rights. That is the first thing. Then he presents the state of nature where those rights are becoming meaningless. That is the second provision. And third, Hobbes again is coming out with his theory of laws of nature by founding it on the premise of reason, which human beings are endowed with, and declares that these very natural rights are going to be renounced. Okay, people are going to renounce their natural rights because they have reason in order to attain certain things that we are going to see. Okay, after a time. And third is honor the contract. So whatever contract people will make, okay, they will need to honor it, and that again is a part of laws of nature. Now, laws of nature has potential to transform the state of nature into civil society. Okay, but these laws are not operative into a state of nature because of two reasons. See, these laws of nature that Hobbes is coming out with, they have they are capable. They themselves are capable, if implemented, are capable of establishing peace in the society. But they become no, or they are actually existing in non-operative form, and they become non-operative, or they are non-operative because of two reasons. First is, one who intends to abide by the law of nature will be compelled to resort to preemptive action against possible danger because of difference and ignorance of others' intentions. Okay, because of difference, or mainly because of lack of trust here, lack of trust of others' intentions, giving rise to a classical case of prisoner's dilemma. Okay, so this is something that we should actually, I will suggest you to Google. What is prisoner's dilemma? If you don't know it already, then it is going to be an interesting thing to know. So this is why laws of nature are not operative. First being that one is not confirmed or confident that what the next person is going to do, and that is why it leads him to adopt or to take preemptive action in order to preserve himself. And the second is, there will be a question of obligation. What is that? We will see that, we will understand it in Hobbesian scheme of obligation, and that means you can understand it here also, which actually means that what is the guarantee of obligation here? Okay, who is going to ensure or make sure that people are is actually obliged by whatever scheme they are proposing? Now, under conditions of uncertainty and absence of sovereign power to control the behavior of men, the situation would perpetuate into horrible condition in state of nature. Okay, because condition of uncertainty prevails and there is no sovereign power who is going to control the behavior of men. Okay, this situation actually culminates into the horrible state of nature. Now, in that very situation, every person, in order to maximize his benefit, would resort to attack the other, and in doing so, he is well within his sphere of natural rights because that natural right has been given to him, that he can adopt whatever mean one is capable of in order to secure his life. According to above analysis, there is no possibility of men coming to an agreement to relinquish their natural rights unless there is a common superior to keep them under control. Okay, so now it is becoming more and more evident, more and more clear in Hobbesian scheme that why at all a sovereign would be needed and why people will come under an agreement, that is contract. Okay, so things are developing in such a direction where the situation that actually is present in the state of nature would necessitate the formation of sovereign, okay, the emergence of sovereign, and will also necessitate the signing of the contract, okay. But the problem is that the common superior cannot be created except by a contract. I told you that the situation is actually necessitating the formation of sovereign, and formation of sovereign is going to be possible only with the signing of contract or making of a contract. To resolve this dilemma in the state of nature, a social contract is necessary. Okay. So the situations that he's coming out with is actually necessitating the formation of common superior, which is going to be called a sovereign. And in order to create the sovereign, contract is needed. He has actually destroyed, completely dismantled the edifice of divine rights just now, at this very moment. Okay, so when he comes out with his of theory and premises which is necessitating the formation of sovereign, he is actually destroying the premise of divine rights theory. Okay, now he has established that why a sovereign is needed and why at all any kind of ruler is justified or why at all any kind of rule actually exists. So this very premise of Hobbes is actually justification, the justification, the explanation, and also the reason which is going to be pointed out to those who come out with this very theory of divine right to justify the institution of sovereign or the very office of ruler. So here in Hobbesian scheme, it is concluded, or it is being concluded that the office of the ruler, in this case, it will be the sovereign. In Machiavelli's case, it is the prince. Okay, so it can be anything like that. The office of the ruler is actually the result of the conditions that actually culminated into a situation which necessitated its formation. Okay, I hope you understand it. And if you don't, the additional benefit that you have with videos is that you can just pause it and play it back. I am sure you will be able to understand it. Okay, so this was about all those situations that actually culminated in the formation of sovereign, and now further we are going to see or going into the details of the contract and the power that sovereign in Hobbesian scheme is going to enjoy. So that will be a topic of discussion in our next video. Sorry. Thank you. And if you like the video and if you're going for subscription, make sure that you avail this very 10% discount by using this very code, that is Amit PS. Use this very code to get 10% discount. Thank you.